back to Feedback Loop. I'm Joey.
And I'm Jeremy.
And this week, we have different voices for some reason.
It's our radio presentation voice.
Man, if that was my radio voice, I would be kicked off of radio immediately.
Well, it's a good thing we have this podcast instead.
Yep. And we can't be kicked off of our own podcast.
We might be kicked off of like platforms though, if like our content gets too edgy or horrible.
Well, but I don't think terrible voices is edgy
no,
content.
Definitely not. But you know, we'll see. Maybe this will be the line, and SoundCloud will say now that's the voices gotta change.
You literally are making too shitty of content. It is just clogging up all of our feeds. So stop, please.
Exactly. Yeah.
But anyways.
What are we doing? We're a podcast where we talk about music.
And
right?
last week we were listening to the album 2012 through 2017 by Against All Logic. So, yeah, otherwise known as Nicholas Jar. That is his real name, and he makes other music under that name. But this music
was not under that name.
Yeah, this music is under Against All Logic. I keep wanting to say Against All Odds, and I'm pretty sure that's like a Midwest emo band from like the mid 2000s or something. I just feel like that is, but it's Against All Logic. Yeah.
Why did we do this album, Joey?
It's housey. You know, we listened to Cascade last week, and I just got this is just the album I wanted to listen to this week. You know,
I feel it.
It's as simple as that, honestly.
That's all. We don't need some grand scheme of why we pick the albums. It's just sometimes insightful.
Yeah. Plus, it's on the list, and I'm trying to knock off stuff that I put on the list because I need to do that.
We have a lot of stuff on the list.
We do.
Probably not going to get to anytime soon because that's just the way we do things. We make a system and then we ignore the system and just do what we want.
Well, the point of the system was to get us comfortable with doing our own thing.
That's true.
And did that. It accomplished it, and it's fine.
And it's working out, I think.
I think so. Do you think so, audience?
We'll wait. We'll wait until we get your mail-in responses.
Yeah, it's like
send via snail mail.
It's like Dora the Explorer. What do you think?
Exactly. Oh shit, I'm not supposed to be talking. Well, we're supposed to give them a second. What do you guys think?
Oh god.
Us too. Anyways, this album, the album art for it, it's pretty simple, but also not. It's interesting and simple, I suppose, as opposed to just being boring and simple. It has the Against All Logic name, top left corner, black, simple font. It has the album in like an outlined, like just a black outline of 2012 to 2017. And it kind of has this track listing that is split. The left half has the first half of the album. The right half has the second half of the album. And dividing it, and on the left edge of the album, is like a little banner strip that just says other people over and over again, which I'm assuming is the label that he released this with, because it's also in the bottom right. But the first letter of each track is filled in black, so it's not just an outline. The rest of the letters are outlined. And then the top right corner has a photograph of some gymnast that is like folding herself backwards on her back kind of thing. Like the front of her legs are completely on the ground and she's like folding herself backwards at her, like, I guess above her butt. Her back is just kind of like going back on itself. I don't know what the significance of this is. Do you?
I mean, other than just like it looks kind of like a old-ish music workout video or something. And I mean, a lot of the samples on this album are older, but I honestly don't think that means anything, really. Like, I think it was
maybe that's Nicholas himself right there.
Yeah, that's him. Her. What?
Yeah, them.
Them. There we go. That's safer.
How dare you? I heard that, and they heard that.
I'm sorry.
That's unbelievable. I need to fucking mute my phone too. But yeah, that's the album art. I like it. It's simple. It's clean. And there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't have to be flashy.
No frills.
No frills.
And
for reals.
Just all thrills is that. And it's not much, but if I lived in it, I'd just have to say this old house is all I have.
which is the first track.
And if there
pretty
was,
shitty segue, in my
yeah,
opinion. It's a hot take. Not the best we've done. You
god,
know,
god
you
damn
tried. You tried harder than I did. My brain's off today anyway. We're just gonna roll with it. This old house is all I have. First track on the album. It's got some ominous blomps
it. Oh yeah,
starting. Bring back the blomps. It kind of starts off in this kind of weird ominous space. There's some like quiet cymbals and then like some distorted vocal sample that is like it's almost chanting in a way, but it's
yeah,
just someone singing. But the way that it's looped and sampled, it sounds kind of like they're chanting. Then you get some like horn blasts that come in, and the bass and the guitar and the piano hit, and it's just this groovy, like I don't want to say disco-y, but it's kind of disco-y
yeah.
in some way. It's just very groovy sounding, and like throughout this track there's like sprinkles of distortion and like white noise that kind of keeps some chaotic thunderstorm energy. There's a hi-hat driving through it that just kind of like gives it a good push, and then there's this very soulful vocal sample that says this old house, and it's I don't know, it's a good introduction to this album, and it feels good.
I agree. I think it just sets it up really nice. I like the way he uses the samples. There are like three samples. I don't know if you listened to the samples, but this is what I like. Whenever I listen to music like this, I tend to listen to the album and then try to
Find the
find,
samples.
yeah, find the samples, listen to the samples, and then listen to the album again, kind of with that context, I guess.
Okay.
And there's like three different songs sampled on this, two of which are by some guy named Mike James Kirkland, who is the guy doing like the "This Old House"
Right.
is like vocals, and then the chanting at the beginning is actually in the original song. It almost sounds like chanting, but it's
Okay.
a song called "The Warnings Part 2" by David Axelrod, and that's where the horns come in, and pretty much all of the background music, like the funky music in the background, all comes from a sample of "Doing It Right" by that Mike James Kirkland. Like the music is straight up just taken almost.
Right.
I mean, like he added some stuff and like sounded like he bit crushed some of it to like super
Yeah, for
distort it
sure.
and everything. But it's just it's super cool. I like it, and yeah,
It's
it's
very
just
very groovy and soulful adventure.
yeah. And I think you're right with saying disco because there's a lot on this album that I think could fit into a disco category. And I feel like house has roots in disco. I might
Yeah.
just be talking stupid,
No, you don't
but
don't backtrack on that. Just be confident in what you say.
yeah,
House is 100% derived from disco music. That's a fact. And anyone
exactly.
who tells us that we're wrong is stupid.
Yes, and I 100% agree with that statement. Everybody who tells me that house does not come from disco is an idiot and knows nothing about
They're
music.
wrong. Well, I never dream, but if I had to dream, I would dream of track number two.
Man, and if I had to dream, I would have dreamt of me making a segue that good the first time.
It's a pretty contained segue, but
Yeah, there you go.
whatever.
No. But yeah, so this song it starts off with like the drums are like super tinny, I guess. Like
Yeah,
they're
it's
they're
very tight sounding.
yeah, extremely. And then like it's got these wavy, spacey synths that come in, and it's like I don't know. This song I feel like is pretty sample heavy. I mean, the whole album is most
Right.
of the album at least is, but this song is just as well, and it hits me harder on this one where it kind of makes me realize what goes into it, which is part of why I like music like this. Where I know I've said the thought before that once music is released, it then becomes the audience's
Mm-hmm.
instead of the artist's. It leaves
Yeah.
ownership, and this type of music is the best thing that comes from that mindset. I think where instead of using instruments, other songs in themselves are the instruments. And
Right.
it's just, you can create, you use each little section of a song as a note, as you would a note in a scale or something. And it's just super cool that people can do this, that people have the creative ear for it. And
Yeah, it's blending a lot of other people's creativity into your own creative like outlet, and it's kind of adventurous, and it kind of like specifically in this track, it felt very cozy and like kind of rainy day kind of thing to me.
Oh yeah.
And I was kind of taken into the scene, much like you were with Atmosphere. But it seemed like this is some like kind of dreamscape memory of having music playing in some like city apartment while you're just watching traffic drive by on like a wet road. And then there's this choppy sample, or there are a couple choppy samples that give it this kind of dream quality where you don't really understand what you're listening to, but it feels natural in that moment of being in that place.
Yeah.
The non-vocal sections where there aren't like vocal samples happening kind of seem to have this adventurous feel. So maybe you're kind of leaving the apartment and getting on a train and just riding around the city and watching everything pass. That's kind of the vibe that I got from this one.
I feel that vibe, and I get that vibe. Not necessarily that, because that's pretty specific, and I like.
Right.
But that's, like I said last week. That's what's great about this type of music, is you can get such a specific feeling or moment in your head out of it, and it's
Right.
just great. But like, I can feel the rain in this song for sure, and I can feel the. I don't want to say loneliness, but you're not near other people
Yeah.
in this song, at least for me, or maybe not mentally. Maybe I am somewhere out in the city roaming around, but mentally I'm somewhere else. I'm just a person walking, maybe passing other people but not noticing them, or something like that kind of loneliness, but maybe you're not alone type
Yeah, for sure. I think I got that vibe on a lot of this album, of
thing.
this kind of like being mentally in one place and physically in another kind of a thing, and I'll talk about that. For some of these tracks, I have more of that like kind of scenic description of where I was transported to, more than what the music is specifically, and then other ones I focus more on what the music is. But you'll figure that out. It's clear when I'm talking about one or the other. But
Yeah,
there were several moments throughout listening to this album where I was like, yeah, this definitely feels like being in kind of two different places at once, whether that's being mentally somewhere and physically somewhere else, or having a change of scenery kind of a deal.
yeah.
But I'll talk about that when it becomes more relevant. Like it's not some kind of game. That didn't
Well,
make any sense.
I'm glad you said it, because I was about to say pretty much the same thing, and since you said it, now I can claim that I wasn't, even though I just admitted to saying, why? What am I doing?
Track number 3, some kind of game, some kind of game.
Yeah,
It's just some kind of game. It's not repeated twice. The song
yeah,
repeats it, but
it does.
immediately this one had that kind of groovy disco feel
Hmm.
that it brings in. And this is one of the more narrative tracks where, if there was some sort of narrative to be formed in my mind, this is the point where you're traveling to a club or maybe just driving around downtown. And this is kind of a feeling that I get throughout the whole album. But there's like this movie scene feel where there's like a protagonist that is either walking down a hallway towards some like underground club, or maybe riding on a train, like I said in the last one, through some tunnel, and there's just like lights scanning across their face as the train passes certain like lamps and stuff. There's some muted music that kind of evokes the feeling of being on the outside of a club or on the other side of a door from a club, and then the sample clears up a bit to say some kind of game, as if it's like providing context for the character's story and their experiences, if this was like a movie kind of a deal.
Yeah, I feel that, and I totally get the next Roomy effect that goes on. Next Roomy effect. That's the new thing.
That's the title of our plugin that we're
Yeah,
launching for music producers.
there we go. You just hit that next Roomy effect, and
Yeah.
bam, it's washed out. But like, I got the deal that, because instantly, as soon as the song came in, it gave me like a Euro club vibe type thing, where
Yeah.
it's more dancey than like the last song, and he's in already in a club, and whenever it kind of gets faded is whenever he like walks into the bathroom to kind of gain some clarity,
Yeah.
like that moment where you're looking in the mirror and you like splash some water on your face or something, and then in his head some kind of game comes back in, and then he heads back out there, and then
Yeah,
it like,
I like that a lot.
yeah.
I had a kind of like two different trains of thought that I was following on that thing, and one of them was very much like when the music was muted, instead of it being him in the bathroom or something, it was him like being out in the club but having a conversation with someone. And obviously, if you're shooting a movie, like, you don't want to have the music blaring while there's conversation happening, so they kind of tone down the music to be in the background while he's having this kind of moment with someone else. But yeah, it's very cinematic in a way that, like, that One On Tricks Point Never album was very cinematic to us, at least.
That album.
It was good times. Good
it was a
times.
good times. Man, I was gonna try to make a thing, and then
Well, don't give up. You're not hopeless yet. There's still hope to be found.
Good, as long as there's still
track
hope.
number 4. Yeah.
Hopeless. The track number 4 is called Hopeless, which is what I am just all the time.
I feel that, man.
All day, every day, and this song captures that feeling. Honestly, like,
it's very like eerie and echoey.
And you know what? This is going to sound really weird, and I think it's just because I've been playing this game a lot. But the opening to this track, it gives me like almost a Risk of Rain soundtrack vibe.
Yeah.
And for people out there who don't know, Risk of Rain it's a great game, honestly. It's a video game. It's the vibe and the music in that game is so great. And it's like set in outer space, so it's kind of spacey and everything. But
even if you don't like video games or have no desire to play the game, look up the soundtrack for Risk of Rain 1 and 2. They're both phenomenal soundtracks. And if you like this album, or if you like music, you'll probably like it. It's very, like, I don't know, it's good, it's synthy, it's spacey, it's upbeat. But we're not going to talk about that too long.
Yeah.
I also did get a video game feel from this track. I noted that this could easily be a remix of a song from Portal 2.
Portal.
So I was with you on the video game thing. We went in slightly different directions.
Yeah.
But I was there.
It's probably because I was playing Risk of Rain earlier today or something. And that's just what I'm thinking. Yeah, every day. But yeah, it's my video gaming habits don't mean anything when it comes to this podcast. So, but yeah, it gets, this is one of those songs that I feel like is a very lonely song without necessarily like, I'm not necessarily alone in my cinematic head whenever I'm listening to the song. Like, maybe I'm on a bus, maybe I'm walking around the city and there's people passing by, maybe I'm somewhere like sitting at a coffee shop or something, like I would ever do that. But I don't know, like,
we don't do clubs and we don't do coffee shops.
Yeah, there's too many people. There's just too many people everywhere, and they just need to not be there. Except, I know that sounds terrible, but
I mean, I don't think it sounds terrible. I think it sounds accurate.
But it gets pretty industrial. I guess this is the first kind of hint at that, because I feel like there are songs later that get kind of industrial, namely one later whenever we get to it. But it gives you a little taste of the industrial before a really hard bass kind of comes in. And this one is actually one that doesn't have like a vocal singing sample thing like the other tracks do. Yeah. Or the other tracks so far have had.
Yeah, and I think to that extent, my mind kind of wandered in the direction of the lead synth in this track kind of felt like it was some incoherent feeling of somebody else's thoughts. Like, you were kind of feeling what somebody else was thinking without it, like, being words. It's not language. It's just somebody's having these feelings. And I think that lead synth was kind of reflecting that. Like, maybe they're asking questions or arguing with themselves kind of in their own mind. I really do like the subdued bass. There are like two different bass tracks going on in this one. I really like there's one that's like understated and just kind of there for flavor that I really liked. But there's this droning synth that comes in like this weird bridge section. And to me, that kind of symbolized that the person lost their train of thought and has found themselves fixated on something that's happening in the physical room with them. So where the main synth was them kind of like being lost in their own mind, now they're kind of like realizing, oh shit, I'm in this place and now there's something weird happening. I'm going to like stare at that for a minute. or maybe more suitable to the song title, they've kind of come to this conclusion and they're not really happy with whatever conclusion it is. And it's kind of this non-resolution, which hopelessness, you know?
Yeah. I like the vibe this track gives off.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's very stormy, like especially at the very end of this track specifically, it gets very like distorted and stormy. And I feel like a lot of this album kind of has this thunderstorm motif to it musically.
It really does, and it's been great because the past few days here have it's been raining a lot and it's just been nice.
Yeah,
And this song actually it I feel like it follows a pattern that the previous songs had, because in the previous songs with the vocal samples and the other song samples, it seems like so he built a little beat to go underneath the sample and then kind of played with it for most of the song, and then at the end the sample kind of comes out and he builds his own thing off of
right.
it. So like he's building off of the other songs that have the samples, and then this song without the sample, it kind of builds a beat throughout, and then that stops, and where you were talking about that kind of stormy feeling at the end, like it sounds very wet, and
Right.
everything kind of just drops out and it gets kind of ominous towards the end, where it's just like I get the wet feeling, I guess, from the music, and it just gets ominous. Like instead of him building something else, it's kind of like everything stops in a way.
Yeah, and I think he does that a couple of times in this album, and I think it's usually to a pretty good effect.
Yes, and I know you love it, but I don't. Shit, man.
Do you know I love it? I know you love it because you
I,
recommended this album
and
and you talked about
yeah, I was gonna. I said that, and then I was like, I don't know anything
it.
actually.
Well, you know I know you know the track number 5 is called "Know You."
Yeah, damn, nice.
That was horrible.
Dude, no,
Uh,
that's just hard to say. Like the word "you" after the word "no" is just it
know
seems like
you.
it should be "you know." Like
Well, it's just
I
because in my mind I'm an immature child that anytime someone says something to me, I go, "Know you,
know you.
know you." But
I
know
guess,
you, Know
yeah.
you. Not the that was horrible. Why did I spell one word and not the other? That just made it sound like it.
No,
You guys know what's up. Track number 5 is "Know You." It doesn't matter.
but the thing is, that's an actual issue with this album too,
That's
because
true.
on the album cover, like we were talking about, all the names are spelled out of the songs, and YOU is spelled out several times on the front of the album. And if you go to like Spotify, YouTube Music, any like Wikipedia, I think has it,
Yep.
and it has the letter U instead of the word U.
Yeah.
So
For 2 of the tracks, not this one. This
not
one
this one.
is the word you, YOU, but it's a moot point.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah,
This track I didn't have a lot of notes on. I didn't get a super strong vibe from this one. It has like a very tooty sounding bass, and there's like some pitched up vocals and some jaunty keys, kind of a deal going on. And then there's this like low wubby synth bass and some drums that come in that give it a darker feeling. And I don't know, the song feels like it's slower than I keep wanting it to be or keep expecting it to be, where the music is just kind of like slowly walking you through the song in this very like methodical way. And then there's like this like stylophone kind of sounding instrument in some lead sections. I don't know. It was a weird track. I didn't really click with it a whole lot.
yeah. I. It's weird that you mentioned walking. I also didn't have a lot of like I guess notes or thoughts or whatever on this track, but I had two things, and one of which was whenever the hard bass hits start coming in, it feels like the music itself is like walking like some sort of giant monster.
Right.
It's like it's taking those disco steps that you'd see some dude take in like a
Disco
70s
steps.
movie where
We're
he's
gonna
like
take a disco step to the discotheque.
calling it back because you're the mother loving queen of the disco
Mother
steps.
loving queen of the disco steps. Oh,
But
sorry, I
it's
didn't mean to interrupt you with
no,
that.
you're good. I just picture like John Travolta like walking down the street in a fur coat or something whenever I hear this song. And
That's interesting.
the other one, there's like one thing I actually did like connect with or like about this song is it's got this like filtered vocals that are like hidden in the background throughout most of the song that are kind of just going wow, like, and you can't barely hear it, and then at the end it like pops out of nowhere and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's where that came from, and it was just cool.
It was lurking. It was
Yeah,
what's it called? Chekhov's gun, where it's
maybe.
in the first act of the movie. If there's a gun on the wall, it gets used by the end or something.
Yeah. Except it's Chekhov's sample from 1979.
It's probably not even Chekhov's, and now some idiot, I'm the idiot here, some guy is commenting on our video or on our podcast saying, "Hey, you're fucking stupid."
That's actually not a bad strategy for us, though. Say a bunch of shit that's stupid and wrong.
And get people to call us out, because nobody's fucking commenting on our things anyway.
Exactly. Then maybe if people are like, actually, this is wrong here, and it's like, you fell right into my trap. You're the wrong one.
There are good ways and bad ways to get comments, and I feel like that's such a bad way.
It is such a bad way. Just like track number 6.
Yeah, 6. You're killing it with the numbers today.
I forgot to write numbers next to my song titles in my notes.
Yeah, number 6, such a bad way. I really like the intro synth sound to this one. It's very calm, but it also kind of has this almost anxious feel because it's like a skipping record loop kind of thing, where it just kind of like, he does it a lot on this album, but this one specifically sounded more, maybe it was just because it was an extended period of time where this one loop was just repeating over and over again.
Yeah.
But there's some disco-y vocal samples that come in, as with a lot of the album. There's some string stabs that really feel good. This one kind of feels a little bit less stormy and a bit more optimistic than the rest of the album, until this like plucky bass comes in, and it was almost this kind of spring feel, but the bass really chills it out and gives it more of the kind of like fall kind of rainy feel to it. There are some pretty cool synth effects and instrumentation throughout this whole track. Like he's playing with some like fluid tone and can slide it pretty quickly to make weird like theremin-esque chirps.
Yeah.
Like turning in like a radio or something. And then holy shit, Joey, he samples Kanye West.
Yeah, he does.
And it's from Yeezus. The track is "I Am a God." There's just it has the Kanye scream from "I Am a God," and I love that. I love that album. We need to do that album. It's coming up soon.
Yeah,
we have to do that album now, because I just want to listen to the album, honestly. But we won't do it next week because I already picked the album out. But yeah, and then the song just kind of like makes its way out. It just kind of like rides and fades, and I don't know. I like it. The fucking Kanye sample caught me off guard, though.
Yeah, it caught me off guard the first time too, because I still have never heard the album Yeezus,
right?
And I just heard it, and I was like, that's a pretty cool scream to just throw into the middle of there. And then the more I listened to it, I was like, that kind of sounds familiar. After listening to like Kids See Ghosts and stuff, I was like, I think I recognize that voice. And then I looked it up. Sure enough, it was Kanye. And
old Kanye.
But
so I think in 2 weeks 3 weeks, I guess we'll be doing Yeezus is my plan.
2 of your cycles we'll be doing.
2 of my cycles.
Yeah. How you said it was anxious at the beginning. That's cool, because I got a very regret-stricken feel.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of the song, it is like, it's a little like emotionally out of left field, I feel like, because it's like regret is just hanging off of the music, like almost like something in the past that happened is hanging with the music, and that struck a chord with me because he's sampling so many things from like the 70s.
Yeah.
So it's like
and Kanye West from 2013.
And Kanye West from 2013. But I feel like that scream there has a point, and it's to break out of kind of the beginning half of the song, or like not necessarily break out of it, because like you said, I do think it's a little optimistic, but then it kind of takes it back down with that scream. Like it's kind of a breaking point for the song, I guess I should have said. But it's just cool that the feeling of regret that the song gave me at the beginning made me think of this type of music and just a lot of other sampling styles of music that I listen to that play on nostalgia a lot, take a lot of stuff from previous music. And I don't know, it's like the feeling of regret is very much tied to the past, and the feeling of nostalgia is right there with it. So it's 2 sides of the same coin in a way, and it's just cool that at least I think it's cool that he got that emotion tied in there as well. Like there's so much music like that I listen to, and it's just
I like those words. I like the words you're saying.
I don't even know what words I'm saying. I'm just saying things.
Well, that's all a podcast is just saying things. I have no way or clue how to segue into the next one. You want to take a stab at it, Joey?
Man, yeah, I guess I'll fade in and out, and I live near a city, kind of. No, I don't.
No,
actually.
when we drive away from the city, we can just watch the city fade.
Yeah, boom. There we go.
Track number 7 is called City Fade.
Yeah.
One word.
Yeah. This song. No, you go.
Oh boy, every time. This is the issue with doing it online. We can't see when someone else is about to talk or when they're taking a drink. So there's a lot of awkward silence, and then there's also a lot of talking over each other.
But you go this time, okay?
Sure.
I'll give it to you.
Thanks. I appreciate you giving me this track and this platform to voice my opinions on it. So it's got some like stomps and claps for the beat at the beginning of this one, and there's some like almost jaunty piano, but there's also like this minor chord that gives it this kind of tinge of sorrow on it that I really like. There's an echoey vocal track that I can't really make out what they're saying, and it kind of adds to this empty feeling in the song. And then this low kind of driving synth bass fills it in kind of nicely. There are sirens towards the last half of the song. And as the title suggests, there's kind of this dark, empty cityscape feel to this track to me.
Yeah, and to add to that, the reason you can't make out the words, the song's in French, dude.
Oh. Well, that would do it.
Yeah, I looked it up, and because I could have swore I heard so many English words in there. Like I heard something about somebody's daughter, I thought, and something. And then I looked it up. It's like, no, the song's just in French. And it's like whatever that effect is where you see faces and things that don't have faces except with language, where you hear words from your language in other languages. It's that, whatever that is. But
someone commented, please let us know.
Yeah, please do let me know, because I don't want to have to Google that. Like I feel like I've Googled that exact like phenomenon several times, and I just haven't remembered the name of it. But the echoes around the vocals. So like whenever I listen to music like this, I like to listen to it really loud, like probably too loud, louder than I should in headphones, so I can be completely enveloped in the sound. And the echoes on the vocals on this track specifically kind of trap me, and it feels like I can't get out, to where like I don't know, it's like this intense, almost claustrophobic feeling, and it kind of forces me to enter a headspace of like emptiness, anxiety, like just that type of stuff.
Yeah,
but
I think the music like definitely lends itself to that on this track. Like I said, it's got this kind of empty feeling with the echoey vocals, and it just like I don't know, it's not bare bones, like it's not a minimal song per se, but it's still like it feels like there's this emptiness. It does a good job of conveying that feeling of emptiness.
Yeah, and especially like with the return of kind of the more industrial sounds, like there's a lot of beeps and boops and weird. It almost sounds like R2D2 or something in the background of parts of this song, where it's just like beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, I think that was an uncredited feature. R2D2 had a verse in the song,
or whoever the new dude is in the sequels.
BB-8.
BB.
Joey, you can't say whoever the new dude is in the sequels to me, okay? Especially not on the internet. Like, Joey hasn't seen the Star Wars sequel movies.
I have not.
For everyone listening.
Yeah, I've not seen. I haven't seen anything past Revenge of the Sith. I mean, okay, no, I haven't seen anything. I've seen all of the originals and all of the prequels. There we go. Because saying I haven't seen anything past Revenge of the Sith makes it sound like 1, 2, 3 stop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've seen everything that came out like before 2005.
Yeah. Was it? There's no way it was 2005. We'll figure it out.
I think it was 2004, actually.
We'll figure that out after the podcast.
Yeah.
But right now you got me hooked on this album, so we're gonna keep talking about it.
Yeah, and now you got me hooked on wondering when Revenge of the Sith came out.
Well, track number 8 is Now You Got Me Hooked. This is one of them that has the letter U in the track listing on like mobile or not mobile, on like online platforms, even though the album art clearly has the word spelled out.
Yeah.
Which we're still not sure if there's some significance there, or if it was just an aesthetic choice, or if it was a typo.
Yeah,
but
who knows?
Not I. But Now You Got Me Hooked, track 8. It's a bit brighter sound right out of the gate on this track. It's another kind of like record skip style loop that kind of picked up. It's got some nice horns and this vocal sample of a woman going, which I kind of enjoy. The beat drops in this one, and it's this completely different feeling, and it still fits though in some way. It's kind of this nice contrast of this kind of gritty low bass and the driving drums to the kind of high feeling of the intro. And there's wind chimes in this one, which I think are always welcome in like ambient and instrumental music.
Yeah.
The horns kind of build the song back out of the dark hole that this drop took it to without losing some of the character that it gained along the way. And then the last verse section, I say verse section, there's no verses, but kind of the last section, it's a bit more distant and flat for a second, and then this kind of like bass drum kind of, a lot of the times for his bass lines he uses drum pad kind of samples. Mm-hmm. So I say bass drum, I don't mean just like a kick drum, but the bassy drum kind of section sound comes back in and fills it in before the whole song kind of fades out. And it kind of gives me this feel like, at least at the end of it, that you were listening to this song at a traffic light, and the guy next to you is playing the music, and then at the end he kind of drives away, or maybe you're left on a city street, and the person you were talking to drives away, and it just kind of like fades out,
and you're just kind of left there wondering what's happening.
Hey, yeah, what's going happening? On, man?
This song is at a very pivotal point in this album for me, not because anything groundbreaking happens, but whenever I listen to music like this, I tend to, at least for a few listens of it, lay down, eyes closed, as much as I possibly can, just try to zone out. And this song comes at about minute 40, which is usually where like I'm in the zone and I'm kind of dead to the world at that point. Like I have forgotten that I exist, and yeah. I am just in the album. And this song just kind of does that because it doesn't have anything crazy. Like the vocal sample is, like you said, it's just like a woman going, ah, like, and most of the song stays kind of the same with that guitar coming, like that funky guitar, and the horn comes in at the beginning, but like the rest of the song kind of stays with like the hard bass and the guitar, and it kind of just puts me in like a trance type mode. And I don't know, I like it. There's not a ton going on for me, but it's kind of like I want it that way whenever I'm listening to the song.
Hey, it's a spiritual experience from what you're describing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if like a literal spiritual experience, but like music, I don't know. I think there's something to be said for experiencing music in a way as if it were kind of like a religious experience or a spiritual thing, and that like it's nice to have that isolation with the music and being able to connect with the music on a kind of a deeper level than just, putting it on in the car while you're driving or something, or having it on the background while you're working, kind of deal.
Yeah, because that's how I usually listen to music, is just on the background. But like albums like this specifically, like this type of music, like electronic music, really, it can just like take you to a completely different place. And I'm not kidding when it's like you forget that you exist, and it's just so nice. Like there'll be
Joey always wants to forget he exists.
Well, it's like that's the perfect. That's like that. Okay, never mind. that feeling is just a flash in the pan. People do not give in to the feeling of not wanting to exist. It is just a flash in the pan.
Yeah, just let it come and go as quickly as it can.
Yeah. Unlike track 9, because it's like 7.5 minutes long, and it will not just come and go.
I really like this track. I instantly like the beat and the bass that he used to make it. It's kind of this like glitchy and driving and dark sounding track, and it just feels good.
Yeah.
There's some like synth layers that give a melody that come in like a minute and a half into the song, and then the beat just kind of like falls apart.
Yeah.
And I really like the progression that happens throughout the song. There's a lot of movement and changes that I really couldn't do justice if I tried to describe it specifically. But I don't know. It seems this is how weird this track feels to me. I wrote down that like you kind of leave the city and you enter some weird shiny metal laboratory jungle because that makes sense. And then at the end of the track, you kind of emerge on the other side in some sort of like purgatory afterlife kind of deal. Because there's just like you kind of hinted at, there's this kind of industrial feel in a lot of the music here, which kind of gives it that metallic or that laboratory feel. But there's also these like bongos and a lot of like rhythmic drumming and stuff that kind of gives it more of a jungly feel. And then it just kind of like chills the fuck out at the end and just kind of like fades into some heavenly music. But it feels more like purgatory in the context of this album.
Yeah. And to tell the audience out there how right you are with the industrial laboratory jungle feel, because I think that's 100% correct. Because the way I described it was like the factory level in an old platformer game, like the music behind it, and like that synth kind of does come in like a moment of clarity where they're peeking through the steel of the factory out to the jungle, and then that like near the end it's kind of like I described it as a romp through the jungle out of the factory towards the next song.
Fucking, we're tying it back to what I said in the first track. It's like Portal 2. I don't know if you've played Portal 2.
I have not.
But at that, dude, we gotta play that. But, it's like in Portal 2. I don't want to spoil things, but like the testing laboratory that you're in Portal 1 and in Portal 2 is kind of falling apart. It's been in the state of disrepair, and there's like overgrowth kind of coming through it. So it has that kind of, I think that's a very good visual interpretation from my perspective of having that kind of lab environment, but peeking through the cracks and seeing the outside world and this overgrowth. And at one point, there's even hints and teases about seeing a deer at some point, and it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a very, if you've played Portal 2, that is the kind of feeling that this song captures.
Well, if that's the kind of feeling that is in Portal 2, I can't wait to play it. I've only ever played the first one. So.
Well, I might have a key for you. We'll talk about that afterwards, though.
I think I have it, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if you don't get a chance to play it, then maybe you won't love it. But regardless of what happens, I think you're gonna love Me and Scream, which is track number 10.
Oh man, this song, like the title, kind of gives a weird, eerie, almost like end of relationship, but beginning of like a relationship that you want to end type feel. Like whenever I read it, I'm like, oh god,
it feels like it's going to be ominous.
Yeah, like it's just like, what? I don't know who you are. I don't want to love you, but do I love you? I don't know. But it's the vocal sample. It kind of captures that feeling, but it doesn't stay for like the whole song. It actually is pretty short comparatively. I think it doesn't go throughout the whole song like a lot of the other samples. And whenever that vocal drops out, like the bass just really comes in, and it just hits hard.
I love it so much.
I also love it so much, and it like, I don't know, it does this thing like immediately after the bass comes in. It kind of does this thing where it kind of goes away for a second, comes back, like it'll kind of skip out, and it feels like you're grasping at air or something. It's like, no, come back, song, please, come back. I don't know what's happening. I mean, in the context of whatever narrative we can throw onto this, it could be like maybe you're out, like you've ran through the jungle and you can almost taste freedom, but it's not quite there yet, or something. Like
which also happens in Portal 2. Spoilers.
I kind of assumed, given what I know about that universe, but yeah, it's like that's kind of the vibe.
This album is just Portal 2, the album.
Oh my god, let's do that. Whenever we play Portal 2, we have to like have this album on in the background.
I don't know. I really like the music in Portal 2, so I feel like that wouldn't be fair to the music of Portal 2. But
well, then I'll play it twice. Once with the regular music and once with this music.
That'll be our first stream game that we do together because we're becoming streamers too. Surprise, yep. more business ventures for us.
That's happening apparently.
But yeah, this song, like, I don't know, it feels very good. I really love the bass in it. I like all of the like layered synths that come in under it. The midsection gets stripped down a bit. It's got some weird effects that kind of flow around a bit before building up to like another quick drop, and it feels great. I like the feeling of this track. I will say though, it feels a lot longer than 5.5 minutes, and I think that's because it covers a lot of ground within that 5.5 minutes. It feels like it's a much longer track, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Well, you said it was a bad thing whenever Hella did it, so...
Well, that's because all of their songs went on too long. But
they were all like 3 minutes long, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's like 2.5 minutes too long for what they were doing, in my opinion. But
I will forever be bringing it back to that album.
Every episode, there's going to be a tie-in.
But at the end of this song, it gets nuts because like it blows out a fucking speaker or something.
It's just some really gritty sounding bass.
Yeah, some crazy stuff happens.
But
yeah, me too. And it almost makes me want to go to a rave. In fact, maybe rave on you.
Maybe.
That's the best 11. It's literally the best I can
do. Track number 11 is Rave on You. It's the second track that has a U for the letter U instead of the word U. But who fucking knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's got some like this track's weird. Okay, I know we talk about ending tracks a lot, and this track is 10 minutes long, and it kind of had this journey. So my initial notes. So it's got some clicky cowbell and an old school kind of campy bad hip hop feel to the beat of it, like some cheesy like 80s rap beat kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's got some soft wavering chord progression. There's bass providing kind of more substance to that progression, and the song feels a lot more chill than I was expecting from the title being Rave on You.
Yeah.
The melodies are nice, but I felt kind of disappointed by this track, maybe because my expectations were high. I mean, the track's called Rave on You. When I saw that it was called Rave on You, I immediately got reminded of Benny Benassi's Rock and Rave album, which is fantastic in my opinion, but very much a different style of music.
Yeah.
And then about like 7 minutes into this track, after I'd already written all that stuff, the song just kind of like dissolves. And I was like, maybe I was a bit too quick to judge a 10-minute track in the first couple of minutes. But it kind of feels like the facade of what was being built up in the first 7 minutes is kind of breaking. And then the real world is kind of leaking in a bit, or the real, in the context of this album, is kind of like leaking in a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew, because whenever I had first said something about this album, I don't know if it was on the podcast.
I think it was after we stopped recording last week.
You specifically called out Rave on You, and I didn't want to say anything because I knew what you were thinking whenever you immediately started talking about Benny Benassi and stuff. Like, I've never heard that album, but I've heard some of the music that he's done, and I was like, it's not gonna be that. But that's
Maybe at some point in the future we can get to that album too.
Yeah. But I like this album, or this. I mean, I like this album. I like this song, but I didn't have the expectations going into it. I had literally just like I'd listened to this album on recommendation just because I heard it was really good. Like, so I finally made it to the end of the album, and it just kind of took me there because the first time I listened to this album, I was just laying down, eyes closed, listening to the whole album. It was like 1 a.m. too, so it was even spacier.
Yeah.
And
speaking of, when was the first time you listened to this album? Because I noticed on our list you put that you have not or did not have a lot of experience with this album.
Whenever I put it on our list I think I had listened to it 2 times.
Okay.
And it was like from a week or 2 before I put it on the list.
Gotcha. So this was a this year discovery for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just like I found it, and I think it was because I saw somebody like speculating that because he did put out another album this year, and I think it was a little bit before then. So like I had read some reviews, like it just popped up somewhere, and people were like, "Oh, this is if you like good sample based music, whatever. Come listen to this album, and I was like,
which
okay,
is
I guess
right up your alley.
yeah, exactly. I love all of that, all of those things. Give me them, all of them at the same time, and
Yeah. I feel like overall this album hit kind of like this blend of sounds from like tying into Cascade's atmosphere. There were some of the like similar synth sounds, but also this kind of like I mentioned, One of Tricks Point Never's replica album, and also this kind of like French house, a la like Daft Punk, older stuff kind of deal. I would definitely go to clubs if somebody told me that this is the music that was played in clubs. This kind of like I don't know. It feels like the soundtrack to some dystopian city movie, and I feel like I'm cooler just listening to the album.
I hope that's true because I've listened to it quite a few times at this point, and I want to be cool, Jeremy. I just want to be cool.
Joey, you are cool. You're the coolest guy I talk to on this podcast.
Well, you know what? That's fine because that means I don't know. I don't know what that means.
It doesn't mean a whole
It
lot.
means literally nothing. I was gonna try to put some silver lining on that, but it's fine.
Some linings aren't silver; they're just gray.
Yeah. Oh.
Holy shit! We segued into next week's
album.
album. That never happens. Next week, boys and girls and non-binary gender associating people,
just people out there, or
people,
yeah,
people, and or things.
I don't know. Whatever.
If you don't associate as a person.
If you are listening to this and you have ears, hey, listen. There we go.
Yeah, just like Navi said.
Hey, listen.
Next week, we'll be talking about Slipknot's album Point Five: The Great Chapter. It came out in 2014, which is a year after 2013 and a year before 2015.
Whoa, man.
Oh, I'm losing my mind. But yeah, Point Five: The Great Chapter is my favorite Slipknot album. I feel confident saying that. And it's a spooky album, and it's almost Halloween. We will be recording that episode on the 26th of October, which unfortunately means it will not be released until the 2nd of November for everyone else. But maybe if I get it edited and together, I'll release it on Halloween for spooky fun anyway. But yeah, we're going to be listening to that album, and we're going to be talking about it next week. It's a fun metal. Look, I know Slipknot has this stigma or this facade or this appearance. I think this was a turning point in their career, and it's not as angsty and angry and blah 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 as their old stuff, for better or worse, for better and worse, I should say. But I think it's a very very interesting album, and it's worth talking about, and I think it's their best music yet.
Well, shit, man. I only know Slipknot in the angsty session. I mean, Iowa is definitely by far my favorite Slipknot album. One of my favorite like metal albums from that era. So it'll be nice. I think the last thing I heard from them was All Hope Is Gone.
Right. Which is when a lot of people like, I don't know, that was kind of like the big, they made it kind of a deal. And then this came after that, and they were experimenting with their sound, but you'll figure that out. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a fun album. I'm excited to see what you think of it, and I'm excited to hear what you guys, the listeners, the audience, think of it. So if you guys want to listen with us, leave us comments, shoot us emails or Twitters and Facebooks, whatever. Hit us up. Let us know what you feel about that album and the one we just talked about by Against All Logic.
Or any other album. Like, honestly, just be like, hey.
Talk to us about music. We like talking about music. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
So fucking hit us up.
And nobody else talks to us about music. I mean, maybe not for you. You probably have people that listen to music similar.
Yeah, but they have bad taste. So
yeah, that's true. Nobody. I talk on average to like 2 people that aren't you, and one of them is 4, and the other one. So
I don't know what that says about you and what that says about me.
So please talk to me about music, everybody.
Yeah, everyone in the world that listens to this, directly contact Joey and talk to him about music. I'm open for discussion as well, but I think Joey needs it more than I do.
Please.
Until then, though, we'll be seeing you next week when we talk about Slipknot's Point 5, the Great Chapter. And until then, stay in our feedback loop.